Dragon Age Veilguard Veilguard is here, and it's looking. I want to take an objective look at the trailer and all of the news, as this YouTube channel did once start off with quite a bit of Dragon Age guides and appreciation videos, and well, I love Dragon Age. Now that we have some actual gameplay, I can provide you with some legitimate assessment and coherent thoughts about the game. I'm assuming you've at least seen the gameplay trailer once before watching this video, because I'm not gonna react to the entire thing. I'd rather name everything which I like and dislike, and then give some final thoughts and expectations for how the game is gonna be. So, good. The world looks pretty cool. I've heard people say it's not fitting for a Dragon Age universe, but one, we've never been in Miravis before, so how would you know? And two, we know from previous codex and conversations that the Winter is supposed to look kind of bleak and metallic, so it's actually more friendly. And well, we have Reapers in Dragon Age now, apparently. Like, seriously, listen to the next 2 audio clips and tell me if you can tell the difference between this thing and the Reaper. Next, you can switch your weapons quite effortlessly, apparently, at least when playing as a rogue. This isn't anything groundbreaking, and hey, who knows, maybe it's only tied to rogues, but I've always liked games in which you can do this. Whether it was a Souls game in which you can do different combos by essentially breaking the weapon in half or making it whole again, or action games in which you can switch from melee to ranged within a second, it just tends to flow better and gives you more options how to deal with different dilemmas. So that gives me hope. We also seem to have character backgrounds again, so odds are we'll at least have some racial or class-based backgrounds that will open up some more dialogue options and will make also, more importantly, role-playing feel more elaborate. It's also been confirmed we can once again play as a dwarf, elf, Qunari and human, which is fine. They could have added a 5th race, but truth be told, with the lack of role-playing we already saw in Inquisition compared to Origins, I honestly don't think a 5th race would have been really worth their time and effort. And on top of that, we also don't have that many more races to play as in Thedas that would make sense to play as, at least. Lastly, unless I missed it, there was no loot in the entire reveal trailer. I don't really care as much about this as most other people do, primarily because I think that loot has never been implemented properly in any game before. Even in my favorite games of all time, I think that looting things 24/7 is tedious, it has never been done well. So in a weird way, I can almost respect them being like, alright, we just can't see ourselves making a proper loot system, so we're just not gonna implement one whatsoever. I can't confirm if there will be no loot though, so there have been leaks claiming that there will be no microtransactions as well, so we have to grind for better gear and weapons, so at least that will be there. But it begs the question, what will happen after defeating like an end boss or a huge horde of enemies? Just XP or level up points? Guess we'll see. Now then, the bad. The first thing I immediately noticed before anything else is how spongy the enemies are. They always do these gameplay trailers on like easy difficulty or a special base build of the game to showcase what the game looks like, and the last thing you want is the guy playing it sucking at the game. But nonetheless, the combat doesn't feel very impactful. When I threw down like literal storms and balls of fire in Origins, it felt like hell unleashed. But let's face it, Origins was a very clunky game. Then we got Dragon Age 2, a much more fluent game, but the combat was very MMORPG-like, so it lacked impact. Then we got Dragon Age Inquisition, which somehow took the worst of both worlds and combined that. So now we had non-responsive, but also non-reactive and impact-like combat. And now we've come full circle with combat that seems to be lacking in every department. News was already leaked a while ago that the gameplay will be more like Mass Effect, meaning we can't control our squad directly as in the other games, but you can give them commands, so stuff like move here, attack this enemy, etc. Let's face it, going this direction was unavoidable. I briefly touched upon this in my How BioWare Can Redeem Themselves with Dragon Age Dreadwolf video, but simplified combat was almost a guarantee already. If you look at how elaborate the combat was in Dragon Age Origins and 2, and then how simplified it was in Inquisition. This was the route I expected them to go, and the gameplay trailer has only confirmed it. What do I think about this decision? It's inherently not an issue per se, as long as it's implemented well, which is hard to say just judging from one gameplay trailer. I think that Mass Effect has much more fluent and fun gameplay than Dragon Age, but it isn't necessarily better, it's just different. Inquisition had this weird mix between a tactical camera and free-flowing gameplay, and then they ended up failing in both. The tactical camera seems to have completely disappeared now, or well, we haven't seen it at least, which is fine, as long as commanding your squad will be quite automatic. The only way to guarantee this is ensuring that the AI isn't completely brain dead. And yeah, we can't really tell from the trailer, so who knows. Next, enemy types. Really? Shades? Again? Venatori? Again? Pride demons who have now lost their legs? Again, look, it makes a lot of sense to have these enemies again. Like, of course, it's still the same universe, the same game, the same Thedas, that makes sense. But this is your reveal trailer to the game, man. Like, do you really want our first proper glance at your game that has been in development for 10 years to showcase the exact same enemies we fought before, but who now all look the same, only then doused in grey paint with a handful of neon lights glued to their bodies? Lastly, and honestly, the biggest issue, to me at least, it looks boring. We only have 3 abilities now apparently, so we do not even have the option anymore as Inquisition to hold a button like on your controller and then you can kind of flip through your first list of abilities and then the second one. No, it's just 3. Can this be fun? Yes. As long as the combat feels impactful and flows nicely, it's fine. But that's not the case in my opinion. It looks like very cookie cutter, straightforward combat we've seen before. Now sure, people will say it's only 20 minutes of gameplay, so yeah. Yeah, that's true, but this is the first thing you're showing us in 10 years. That has to be kinda blowing your mind at least a little bit. You don't have to spoil the entire game, right? But we needed more than this. And then on the other hand, a huge skill tree has been confirmed by the developer already, which sounds contradictory to me if you're only going to give me 3 abilities to play with, but well, we're still lacking context there. As I also already predicted in this video, unfortunately, we have a voiced main character again. Same thing applies. I get the decision. It often looks and sounds more polished to have a voiced main character, and a lot of people are simply put off by CRPG types of games in which you have to read constantly and have like 5, 6, 7 different dialogue options to choose from. I understand that from a consumer, budget and time perspective, having a voiced main character just makes a lot more sense. In any case, the reason I dislike it is because, well, now we can prepare ourselves once again for doing entire playthroughs playing as the snarky main character or the grumpy main character or the funny main character, as yeah, that's the main issue you run into with these preset type of dialogue options. Speaking of the main character, Rook was already also leaked like ages ago how we wouldn't play as the Warden or Hawk or the Inquisitor, but now Rook. From what I gathered, we can at least select some outcomes from previous games and even recreate our Inquisitor, who will at least show up somewhere in Veilguard, but I really hope we can just import save files directly from the Dragon Age key, because that's kind of the entire point of that thing. Whether we will be able to do this or not, all of this does propose a new issue that was already an issue in Inquisition, namely the fact that the longer the series keeps going on, the more difficult it becomes to actually ensure all of our decisions have meaning. I think we can all remember the ending and the backlash of Mass Effect 3, which besides time crunch primarily happened because simply very difficult to write dozens of endings depending on all of the major decisions we made in Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3. Like, to give some examples, right? We could romance Harding in Dragon Age Inquisition, but now she's a party member of Rook, so how will that work out? The same thing applies to Solus. We've had people waiting 10 years for their final confrontation between the Inquisitor and Solus. Like, they were friends, or even more than that, so how is that gonna work out now that the Inquisitor is just a random background character for our Rook? I'm immediately getting flashbacks to the end of Dragon Age 2, where Alistair shows up out of nowhere and meets Hawk for the first time and is then like, oh, by the way, I was in love with a woman and she had like this pendant, here, take it. Like, but you don't know this person. Like, we know that we play as the main character in all of these games, but they don't know each other. The world doesn't know that we're the main character. They're different people. Like, Hawk was a stranger to Alistair, Solus will be a stranger to Rook, etc. So, speaking of party members though, voice acting, or lack of. Just a friendly reminder that we went from this,
"Don't kill my baby! I'm begging you!"
to this.
Elving God. Well, whatever he is, he's causing trouble in my city.
Don't really know what to make of this, to be honest. The characters just seem bored. Like, Harding and Varric are still great, so perhaps we just got unlucky with like the least interesting companion in the trailer, but yeah, this does not bode well. In any case, the other companions have already been leaked or revealed. The things that stood out the most to me were the fact that Harding, who is now a full-fledged party member, apparently has magical abilities, which can be pretty cool because normally dwarves obviously aren't supposed to be able to do that in this universe. And this guy called Davrin, who has a baby griffin, which is also really cool because that's essentially a direct continuation from the book Last Flight. It's one of the less popular and less liked books. I thought it was pretty cool. But that book gives us a lot of insight about what happened to the griffins and why they have disappeared from this universe. So for him to have one again, yeah, nice. I can see that working. We have Lucanis, the mage killer, which sounds straightforward enough. Same energy as Tim, the sword holder, or Bob, the builder. Bellara, the least elf-looking elf we've seen in the 15 years that this franchise has existed, straight up out of a Apex Legends trailer. Emmerich, necromancer. This one's weird to me, as in like the entirety of the series we have never had necromancy. It was always blood magic. Sure, we had that one specification for Mage's Inquisition, but even then that wasn't really necromancy. It was just throwing purple clouds at people. So, and then last, but well, maybe least, Tash or Tosh, who from her description sounds like the Iron Bull but in female form. And as Iron Bull is one of the worst companions in the series, I don't think I'll be ready for another. I've thrown every lore accurate thing about my race out of the window, and I will respond to everything you say with monotone and snarky remarks type of character. In case you're thinking I'm being especially pedantic and negative about companions, I think we can all agree that companions are normally BioWare's strongest suit, together with the story and the writing. Nobody ever went, oh, I love Mass Effect or KOTOR for the gameplay. You do it for the decisions and the characters you meet, the story, how it all intertwines. Stuff like that. And when I look at the general introduction to these characters and just the way they look and how that Neve woman spoke, acted in the trailer, I just get the feeling that something is off. Like a certain agenda and quirky style of writing is being pushed that I just can't be bothered to deal with anymore. It reminds me of
My face is tired.
and like the entirety of the Forspoken script.
Then she bathed in the blood of her enemies.
Okay. No one ever said that.
I meant in color.
Yeah, don't.
This might be harsh judging from just one trailer, but until the trailer, I thought Dragon Age Dreadwolf Veilguard is just gonna be Dragon Age Inquisition 1.5. But after seeing the trailer and all of the leaked news, I would be happy with Dragon Age Inquisition 1.5. Because this just looks like a mobile spin-off from the actual series. It feels like they were already making another game, and then at the start of 2024 realized, oh wait, we were still supposed to make Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and then just shoved some Dragon Age Dreadwolf characters and lore into that game. There's still a lot more to say about this. I haven't even touched upon the fact, or the question, why the marketing is so bad for this game, or the fact that we still have such little information after 10 years, because that's essentially what we had, just years and years of complete radio silence, but at that point it would just be me rambling and not going off of information and facts, so let's not do that. Please, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you still excited? Are you even more excited now? Have you lost all hope, or do you think it's actually going to be really cool? Odds are there won't be another Dragon Age video on this channel until the actual release date and review of Veilguard, so yeah. See you at the end of the year, I guess.